So, like most people with someone else's Apple TV Plus login, I am currently obsessed with Severance. And with Season 2 concluding just a few days ago, Severance fever is everywhere. While checking out Reddit, I've seen a solid number of people comparing the show favourably to Twin Peaks, my all-time favourite TV show. This has coincided with a resurgence in Twin Peaks' popularity after the recent passing of co-creator, writer, director, actor, and sound designer David Lynch. Following my immediate rewatch of his entire filmography, including Twin Peaks, comparison between these two shows has been in my thoughts a lot lately. I can certainly see the similarities. Severance and Twin Peaks are two wildly popular, gorgeously produced mystery thrillers containing surrealist symbolism, extreme attention to detail, oddball humor, mind-bending plots, and a deep understanding of visual language and framing. Additionally, there are parallels in their interest in the banal horror of mid-century design and iconography, along with recurring themes of doubles and divided versions of the self. And it shouldn't be left unsaid, these are two of the best shows I've ever seen, which inspire audiences to explore surrealist psychological themes far more frequently than most television. But I also think they differ in really important ways, and the biggest is in their respective approaches to the idea of mystery. As most fans know, when Twin Peaks was first developed by Mark Frost and David Lynch, they didn't have an explicit answer in mind to the central mystery of the show: who killed Laura Palmer. The only reason it's revealed in the show's original run at all is due to network meddling, and a great deal of the ideas explored in the following film, Fire Walk With Me, and the third season, The Return, are about how, even when you get the answer, mysteries can percolate deeper and with more emotional impact subconsciously than a single definitive answer can allow for. As with a lot of Lynch's work, there's more to gain from exploring tonal, emotional, and metaphorical readings than a strictly literal one. This is a huge part of the reason the show is still discussed and theorized about today. There simply aren't explicit answers to many of the questions offered in Twin Peaks. Leaving the audience with more unanswered questions forces them to think about the show on a deeper level, and consider their own intuitions about what they've seen. It's very much an intentional part of the experience. Severance, on the other hand, despite its oblique, twisty world building, does seem to be moving towards definitive answers. Obviously, we can't know for sure until the show has ended, but the subjective abstraction key to the longevity of Twin Peaks isn't the driving force behind this show. It's often surreal and strange, but the way Severance presents mysteries seems to acknowledge that there are answers out there to the questions that the audience and characters are asking. From what I've seen in interviews, the creators do have specific ideas about what Lumen's doing, and are building towards planned answers to the questions being posed.
But it's a matter of kind of having a solid enough endpoint in mind that you can take those little side quests and kind of eventually weave your way back to what you were always setting out to say.
Indeed, as Season 2 has gone on, the show has revealed answers to many of the surreal mysteries set up in the first season.
Rapid fire Season 2 spoilers.
Do the goats serve a purpose? Yes, they're being selectively sacrificed for occult reasons. What do the scary numbers mean? MDR are programming the tempers of Gemma's various innies. What is Gemma doing at Lumen? Being repeatedly severed on the testing floor to see how strongly the severance barrier can hold against negative experiences. How did Lumen evolve, and why do they have such fanatical employees? Starting as an ether factory, they built up insular company towns where they could spread the cult of Egan while creating a dehumanized workforce through the exploitation of neurological pathways, including ether addiction, childhood indoctrination, and severance. The show might be esoteric and weird, but it does hint towards and then reveal the kind of in-universe explanations that most traditional speculative fiction mysteries follow, and which Twin Peaks is so exceptional for avoiding. I will admit, as Season 2 has gone on, I think the show has leaned into the kind of more purely cinematic expressionism that Lynch's filmography is known for. The 7th episode of Season 2 contains a number of cryptic and hard-to-interpret visual transitions, scenes, and motifs, some of which have direct plot significance, and others which seem more about setting the specifically disjointed tone of this standout episode. And in the final scene of Season 2, as Mark and Helly sprint down the hall, the windmills of your mind playing, freeze-framed and zooming on the final image, I did feel an extremely strong emotional association, a kind which can really only be expressed through film. It almost reminded me of the final scene of Inland Empire, a perfect pairing of music and visuals to leave you on exactly the right, thrillingly unsettled note. To me, that kind of emotional expressionism is at the core of Lynch's work, and he does it better than just about anyone. But while these similarities have accumulated over its second season, I still don't feel like Severance comes off as particularly inspired by Twin Peaks. Rather, their shared DNA might come from how much both shows build on their overlapping foundation of artistic influences. On the TV side of things, the 1960s British series The Prisoner is an obvious predecessor to both shows, while in film, director Jacques Tati is an inspiration that Lynch has discussed.
I was, a gigantic fan of Jacques Tati and just think he's a genius.
And Severance clearly pulls from. Playtime stands out as feeling particularly Severance core. From other mediums, there are heavy shades of painters Edward Hopper and Francis Bacon in both shows, and if there's one thing that most critics can't avoid calling Severance, it's Kafkaesque, the novelist Lynch described as the one artist I feel could be my brother. This is largely a semantic argument, but I do think that Severance and Twin Peaks, despite their similarities and overlapping influences, have pretty different philosophies regarding their approach to mystery. Twin Peaks revels in its secrets, offering abstraction, surrealist visuals and questions that still hold sway over audiences more than 30 years later because of how impossible they are to truly, satisfyingly answer. Severance, on the other hand, painstakingly sets up its many fantastical, absurd visuals and plot devices, armed with the knowledge that the payoff down the track is well worth the wait. Obviously, this is all extremely subjective and mostly comes down to vibes, and seeing as how a good number of people do get the same vibes from both these shows, the parallels are worth discussing. But I think there's value to contrasting these two fantastic series, what similarities they share, but more importantly, where they differ. It's a difference that's vital to understanding either show. If you're feeling pretentious, you could describe this as a diegetic versus non-diegetic approach to mystery, but that'd be pretty pretentious, wouldn't it? Oh.
You smug mother.
Hey there! I haven't made a video essay in a while, but I've been obsessing over these two shows for the past few months and have started writing long enough comments on certain other websites that I had to get this one out of my system. I'm currently working on some longer videos that I'll hopefully be getting out sooner than this one. Stay tuned!